We're back again, folks. Prius chat. So if you're not into fuel efficient hybrids, this video is not for you. No food reviews today. So here we are in my garage, 212,000 miles on my Generation 2 2008 Prius, and it left me stranded for the first time. That's right, folks. I was stuck in a residential neighborhood after one of my sales calls for an hour and a half waiting for Auto Club. It finally happened. The ABS brake actuator failed, 212,000 miles. And there is a tale of two different routes for going with your repair. And I asked for my mechanic for the part back after he finished the repair so we could do a little show and tell here today. And the part is back behind me in my garage workbench. It was $1,700 for a new OEM part and $781 for labor. So it was like a grand total at my mechanic that I go to in Modesto on Hellendale and McHenry, Specialized Automotive, Motor City Court, Toyotas and Hondas only. I've been going to this guy for the past 2 years since a buddy recommended him. And I have just felt comfortable going there, but his book rate is still like over 100 an hour. And so it was like a 5 to 7 hour job. And there is various degrees and various ranges that you will see this part. I found a dealership selling the brake actuator for like $1,100. I believe he bought the part at Modesto Toyota, which is the Toyota dealership just around the corner, and it was like $1,700, which was within the range that I'd seen for a new OEM part. So we are going to pan around and take a look at the part, which he gave back to me. So here it is. This is the box that the new one came in before he installed it. Actuator assembly, part number 44500-47141. Oh, actually, it looks like they got it from a dealership in San Ramon. It was sent from the dealership in San Ramon to Modesto Toyota, and then he got it, which explains why I dropped it off overnight. I dropped it off after hours on Thursday. They diagged it on Friday, and here it is Tuesday. So they had it for 3 days, and it was finally done today. I picked it up around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So this is the box the old part is in, and that the new part came in. And I am going to get this out of here and then come right back because I can't do this one. So there it is, the ABS accumulator actuator. Big old plug right there where it communicates. And it's got this aluminum body. This thing weighs probably over 20 pounds. That's where all the hard lines go into for the braking system there. And then it's got this little thing right here, a resistor. Don't know what that's for, but it was in the box. So this thing was running and running and running for the last 20,000 miles or so. It has been running constantly every 15 seconds, and then it got down to even every 5 seconds. And then when I was driving and I parked my car, and then I came back out and I pushed it, the red triangle of death was on, ABS, VCS, wouldn't only go into neutral. It was in some safety shutdown mode, and I was stranded. So this is it. $1,700 for this hunk of aluminum and some little motors and a resistor, and 5 to 7 hours of labor that it took him to. I mean, it's buried back on the firewall, and you got to pull the whole inverter assembly out of the way and bleed the brake system, and you got to have special computer software to be able to oh, that looks like it goes there. So there's like all this kind of specialized things, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, and some people did it in their driveway, but they still had to have the OBD2 plug in laptop and software to be able to program it, which, you know, I didn't have that. And funny enough, funny enough, we'll flip the camera back around and I'll tell you another story that has to do with this exact part with a friend of mine. So my buddy Andrew, that you have seen in one of my highest rated other Prius videos, he too has a 2008 Gen 2 Prius just like me. His ABS actuator failed the same exact week as mine. Now mine has 212 on it. His failed at 170, 174, right around there. His did not go into a safety mode. It just started, the lights came on, but he was still able to drive at 30 miles to a hybrid shop. So in the Central Valley, in the Modesto metropolitan area, there is not like a hybrid specific mechanic. There's a lot of Toyota repair places, but all the hybrid specialty shops are like in Sacramento, which is about 80 miles north, or San Francisco Bay Area, 60 to 80 miles to the west of me. And I was stranded and I only have like a certain amount of mileage and I wasn't going to tow this thing all over town trying to find a deal. His was still able to be driven, so he shopped around and kind of got picky about how much he wanted to spend. I just took it to a mechanic that I trust and I paid $2,500, which I have seen people paying upwards of $5,000 depending on where they take it at the dealership. Potentially $5,000 is what they were going to want. My friend Andrew down in Riverside found a hybrid shop in Costa Mesa that he said it was like they had like a Prius junkyard of cars. It was like mostly Prius, but other hybrids as well. And my mechanic also only wants to do new OEM for warranty reasons and like longevity of the repair. He found a shop down in Orange County that was willing to install a refurb or used part and give him a year warranty for $850 installed, and they had it done in a day. Mine was at the shop for 3 days, but before they finally even got a part in the mail from the other dealership to dealership, and installed. So there is a big range, is what I'm getting at, in repair. He paid $850, I paid $2,500. I've seen other people say that they paid upwards of $5,000. There was a technical bulletin at one point where if it was within a certain age and miles, then they repaired it for free because there was a fault with this part, and it should be like a lifetime part. All the lights are off. There was like, when it was failing, there was like another symptom where I'd start the car first thing in the morning and my ABS light would come on and I tapped the brake a couple of times and it would build up the pressure and it would go off. The other symptom was, like I said, the part, that motor part, it was running all the time. Every 5 seconds before it failed, it would go off, on, and you can hear the motor cycling, trying to build up pressure. And it's only supposed to do it at certain times, like when it starts and, you know. The other thing that was happening is my brake system, like I'd be parked at a light and it would go, it was like struggling to build up pressure, and there was a moaning and a groaning noise, like a dying animal from under my hood from this brake system, just struggling to keep the brake pressure going for the, so like a traditional car has a vacuum powered power booster for the master cylinder, but since this car shuts off at a traffic light, and there's no engine compression to pressurize the system, it has to have this electric module back there that just keeps the brake pressure going. So again, it's like a Prius only thing. Is it gonna last the life of the car? Some people I've seen in forums where they've never had to, some people they have. It's just kind of one of those luck of the draw things, but it is considered one of the big 2 repairs. The other one would be the hybrid battery. That's expensive, but it's come way down in price because you could get a refurb or just cell replacement. But that's still between $800 to $2,000, depending on where you get it replaced. And then the other major repair is this ABS brake actuator. And, you know, there's other things like my buddy Jose, who you've seen in another video, he had to have his odometer cluster replaced. He also had it replaced at Specialized Automotive so they could VIN program at the dealer the mileage and get it all legit. And that was like $850. And then the other big potential repair in the Prius ownership is if it fails is the inverter. So my buddy Andrew on his Prius, I think like 10,000 miles or so ago, he had to replace his inverter, and he did a used unit and he found a place in Orange County, not the same place. And they came to his house and did the repair in his driveway. And it was like $600 or $700 installed for a new used inverter. And then they did the little auxiliary pump as well. That's like a $50 part that any person could replace. But it's just one thing, like the fuel economy and the longevity, because even when I did the repair and I paid the money, my mechanic's like, I wouldn't be surprised if you'd hit 400,000 now that you've done this repair. So that's like double the mileage that I have now. And remember, when I worked at CarMax, I'd see a Prius come in with 300,000 miles for trade. So the motor just doesn't run, the regular gas motor just doesn't run off as often. So it's potentially going to be a 400,000 mile car that I got for less than 4,800. It's unfortunate that the price of this repair, remember I paid 4,900 for the car in 2017, December, the repair was 2,500. So like I'm half the value of what I paid for the car with 125,000 miles 4 years ago. I just had to pay for this big repair. But, you know, I'm still getting 43 to 46 miles to the gallon. My backup car that I drive is a 94 Jeep Cherokee that a family member has been storing on the property, and they were generous enough to let me use it. And I had to drive outside sales, 16-gallon gas tank, and I was getting 16 miles to the gallon. I got 263 miles out of a 16-gallon tank. Whereas the Prius, it's like an 8 to 10-gallon tank, and I could go 446 plus miles to the gallon. So if you're a person who does a lot of commuting, it's still worth it. 100,000 mile Prius, 5 to 6,000. Make it to 200, make it to 300, but anticipate you might have some couple of grand repairs potentially. It's one of those things where sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. I just wanted to share information to other people out there that are interested in a Gen 2 Prius, which in my opinion is the best. But, you know, there's little things that are just Prius specific, like this ABS actuator right here that a regular gas-only car wouldn't have, that potentially can fail. So that's all that I really have to add at this point. I've rambled on long enough. You get the gist of it. Comment down below if you want to ask me any other questions, and I'll try and answer accordingly. Until next time, we'll see you then.